Okay, so let's talk about Unit 13, Lesson 1, which is rotations. So what is a rotation? The easiest way, if I was using talking to a friend, is I would say it is a turn. But the technical definition, it is the motion of a rigid body, so we're going to use geometric shapes, around a fixed point. And since we are in a geometry unit, we are going to use the fixed point as the origin. Okay, but it can be other points as well. So there are two different types of rotation. So there will be clockwise, think of how a clock moves, and then there's counterclockwise. And so there's actually two different correct answers, and you'll just pick one. It's not like one's better than the other, just one will be enough. So since we're using the XY axis, we're going to use 90-degree intervals. So our rotation notation is going to be a capital R, and then you'll see like a 90 degrees, and if it's positive, that means clockwise. So I'm going to show that. So if it is positive, it means clockwise, if they don't tell you. And if it's a negative number, it will be counterclockwise. But that's only if they don't tell you. So you might see like R of negative 180. Okay? All right, so the pre-image is kind of like the before. It's what you get before you rotate the image. So I call it like the starting image. If for the notation, you'll notice on the example here, it's going to be just the letters A, B, C. The image is like the after. So it's the image after you've performed the rotation. And you'll notice over on the example, they have these little apostrophes, which is called prime. So you'll see A prime, B prime, C prime. And so that indicates that that is an after rotation. And they call it mapping when you just rotate one image onto the other. It's called mapping. Okay? So some strategies, there's lots of different strategies, but I'm a visual learner. So what I do is I actually, number one, is I look at the original image, but I perform whatever indicated rotation. Okay. And I mean like physically using my paper. So physically with the paper. Step two is I write down their fake ordered pairs, but I write down, I'm going to put in parentheses, ordered pairs. Okay. Step three is I turn paper back to original. And then four is I sketch the ordered pairs. Okay? Okay, it sounds like a lot, but I'm going to do 3 examples and I'll show you how it works. Okay? If you don't like this method, you're welcome to look up on YouTube other strategies. There's lots of different ways, or come up with one of your own. So example number 1, it says we want a 180-degree rotation about the origin. So it's always going to be about the origin. So since that's positive, we're going to go clockwise. And so 180 degrees, so you have to think that's 90, and then I'm going to turn it again. So it's really going to be 2 turns of your paper, okay? So here's my original image, and I'm going to literally turn my paper. Here's 1, and then 2. So your paper is actually upside down. Now, these are fake, but you're going to act like this is just a regular ordered pair, and I'm going to write my ordered pairs here. So we've got F is at 1, 2, 3, 4, -2. See, it's really not, but this is how I do mine. So N is at 1 up 2. K is at 1, 2, 3, and then P is at 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now those will be like my new ordered pairs. So that's going to be my image. Okay, so now I'm going to turn my paper back around to where it started, and I'm going to actually plot those ordered pairs. So here's F, which is at 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 2. And you want to label that F prime. So I just think it's a lot to remember, so I'd like to write them down. N is at 1, up 2. K, 1, 2, 3, and then P. Okay, so if we connect these, you can just freehand this. That would be our image. It looks very similar to the original. It's not really a transformation that you can just do, I think, without the process. All right, let's try another one. So example number 2. So we want 90 degrees counterclockwise. So we're going to go to the left when we turn it, and 90 degrees is one turn. Okay, so here's my paper, and I'm going to turn my paper once to the left. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing. So I can't see that letter. I'm just going to let that be A. So A new is going to be at negative 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so you're acting like this is our like x-axis and this is our y-axis. X is going to be at 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3. And then let's let that be a C. That is at 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I'm going to turn my paper back to start, and I'm going to plot those ordered pairs. So negative 1, negative 4, that's our A. We've got 2, negative 3, 1, 2. That was our X. And C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to make my triangle. And it's hard to tell. I mean, it looks like we moved this way, but we actually, if we could map like through our origin, this is really what's, like that would be a 90-degree angle going clockwise. That's why it works, okay? So these are all going this way, and it's all through the origin. So you can do the same thing with X. See, that would make a right angle, okay? All right, so let's look at our last example. It's another 90 degrees clockwise rotation. Sometimes the axes throw people off, so I'd like to just do it. So clockwise is to the right, and we're going to go one turn. Okay, so I'm going to turn my paper one to the right. Okay, so now my new triangle should be on the left and mainly in the bottom left quadrant. So J is at negative 2, 1. That's our new J. K is at 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. And L is at negative 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so same idea. Turn your paper back, and we've got negative 2, 1. K and L. So same idea. If I took this J and I mapped it through the origin, that should make a right angle. Okay. All right. So let's look at the back page. These are a little harder. There are 2 correct answers. there should be one that's clockwise and one that's counterclockwise. So if you see CW and CCW, that's what that stands for, okay? You just pick one, all right? So this takes a little bit of remembering. So you have to see, this is the original. So this is the pre-image, and then this is the after. So what I do is I just pick a direction, clockwise or counterclockwise, okay? So one, pick clockwise or counterclockwise. It's really your choice. The answer key might only have one answer, but it's really up to you, okay? And then two, perform turns until you see the correct image. And so what I mean by that is, okay, so here's our black triangle, which is on the left, and I need to get it to where like my triangle's on the right and it points down, and I'm just going to pick clockwise just because, okay? I'll show you the other way. So if I turn my paper, so I want to remember that in my head. So I've got, that's 90, and it's not where I want it. And then that's another turn, so that's 180. And that is what I had. My point was down and it's on the right side. So that was 2 turns. So that means that it's 180 degrees clockwise. Okay? Now, if you picked counterclockwise, let's do that on one example. So same thing. I start with the black image and I want to know when am I going to get it on the right side pointing down. But now I want to go counterclockwise, so we're going to turn it to the left. So here's 90, I'm looking at the black, and here's 2 turns, which is 180. So this would also be 180 degrees counterclockwise. So either one of those answers work, okay? You just have to pick one that you prefer. So let's look at example 5. So the black is my before, and the blue is my after. So what I kind of notice is I'm going to call this a kite. So my kite starts kind of up, and then my kite is kind of, my kite tip is on the left and it's sideways, okay? So I'm going to do clockwise. So if I turn, I'm looking at the black, I'm going to turn once to the right. So that's 90. My kite is backwards. I'm going to do it again. So that's 180. My kite is upside down. I'm going to do it again, so that's 270, and now my kite is on the left, and that's where I want it. So that was 270 degrees, okay? Now, you can do the same thing for counterclockwise. So turn your paper left until you get the kite tip on the left. So right there, that was 1 turn, and my black kite is already there, so 90 degrees. And so what you'll notice is these will add up to 360, okay? All right, let's do the last one. And I'll just show this one method. So typically most students do clockwise. So the black is my before, and I want my after. So I'm just going to notice that I'm going to call it a triangle. My triangle is in the top right. So here's my black. So I'm going to do clockwise. So here's 1, it's in the top left. 2, it's in the top right. So that's going to be 180 degrees. Okay? And we already know that that is, from example 4, the same, counterclockwise. Okay? So now you try.